Okay, if you're being honest, probably some thought humming. I don't know, or that awk. Probably not even it's like a song stuck. But instead, a lot of one more time. It almost prog.
That's such a key point. And yeah, it's often the exact opposite of what's happening. That feeling of almost getting there. It's usually an illusion. What we're doing isn't problem solving. It's more like problem creating. Think of it maybe like mental quicksand, The harder you struggle with the thought, the deeper you sink. Exactly. Yeah. And the way out isn't to thrash around more. It's actually to stop moving. Yeah. To stop struggling against it.
Mental quicksand. That's a really powerful image. So when we're stuck like that, what are these things, these thought loops? How do we spot them?
Well, a thought loop is basically what you described right at the start. It's those repetitive thought patterns, often really unproductive. They just trap us. They drag you back into the past, replaying stuff that's done. Or they fling you forward into worrying about a future that hasn't even happened. You know it's a loop because it's repetitive. You're not getting anywhere. Honestly, you usually feel worse, not better.
Yeah.
More distressed, not resolved.
Right. So today, we're going to really dive thought. We want to unpack why our brain snagged on them and crucial, how we can actually break free, how to get back present. And for this deep dive, we're drawing heavily from this great drive. It's called You're Stuck on a Thought. Really sheds light. Okay, so let's talk brain. What's physically happening up there when we're caught? Every single time you go back to that thought, rereading that text, you are quite literally carving neural pathways. It's like walk path in the grass.
Until it becomes a well-worn trail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy to walk down again without even thinking. And that's where it gets kind of sneaky, doesn't it? Because you think you're just processing or working through it. It sounds productive. But what's really happening is you're training your brain, training it to be anxious about this specific thing. You're basically telling your brain, hey, this deserves hours of energy every day. You're paving a superhighway for anxiety.
Making it the default route.
Precisely. So it gets easier and easier to slip back into that loop almost automatically.
So what's the actual cost then? It's not just wasted time, is it? There must be a deeper price we pay for being mentally checked out like.
Oh, the cost is huge. Yeah. It's profound, really. While your mind is stuck in yesterday's argument or tangled up in tomorrow's what ifs, today is just slipping by. You're physically here, maybe sitting at your desk or talking to someone.
But mentally, you're completely gone.
Exactly. You're absent. You're a hostage to a moment that's either finished or might never even happen. And you miss out. You miss new experiences, opportunities, just the simple richness of this moment because your attention is locked out.
Okay, here's something that might be a bit surprising. It kind of explains why we get stuck. So your brain, it seems, actually prefers the misery of a familiar thought over the discomfort of just not knowing, of uncertain. Even if the loop makes you feel awful, it feels safer.
That's absolutely right. It sounds counterintuitive. But from a basic survival perspective, your brain sees an unknown threat as way scarier than a known problem, even if that known problem is making you miserable. So yeah, your mind would rather keep you in that familiar misery, as you put it, than risk the anxiety of letting go and facing the unknown. It's like choosing the devil you know.
Yeah, that's kind of unsettling. Does that mean we're sort of wired against our own peace of mind? Or is it something we can learn to manage? It almost sounds like, I don't know, being in a bad relationship, but with your own thoughts.
That's a great analogy.
You know it's not good for you, it's not helping, but hey, at least you know what kind of misery to expect today, right? There's this weird sense of control because you're the one generating the chaos, in a way.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that sometimes. But the good news is, yes, it is a mechanism we can learn to override. That's what we're digging into. And there's another weird twist to it. Sometimes being stuck in these loops can almost make us feel important or like really thoughtful.
How so?
Because we're doing so much thinking. We mistake all that mental activity, that churning, for actual mental progress. We think being busy in our heads means we're being productive or deep.
I can see that. But couldn't someone argue maybe that sometimes you do need to think, especially for really complex problems? Where's the line?
That's a really important distinction to make. Genuine, focused thinking. It has a purpose. It moves towards something. It has structure, maybe an endpoint in mind. You're exploring, seeking information. A thought loop, though, it's circular, it's repetitive. It doesn't actually move you forward or bring clarity. It just spins.
Right.
Society tells us, think it through, but it doesn't often teach us the difference between that productive thinking and just detrimental spiraling.
Right.
There's a point where more thinking actually hurts.
And let's be honest, most of the things we loop on, they don't actually need these incredibly complex solutions, do they?
Not usually, no.
Often they just need a simple or acceptance. But we get caught believing that if we just spin it one more time, the magic answer will appear. I remember spending a whole weekend once just replaying this tiny interaction at work. By Monday, I was more exhausted than after
That's it, exactly.
It's that emotional debt. It costs way more than we think.
That's a perfect illustration. When you're stuck in that loop, you are absolutely accumulating emotional debt. Each cycle drains your energy, your clarity, your ability to be present. And just like financial debt, the interest compounds. The longer you're stuck, the heavier the cost. You start making choices out of fatigue, not wisdom. You react instead of respond. You wear down your trust in your own gut feelings because you second guess everything constantly.
And it doesn't just affect us, right? People around us feel it too. Even if we're sitting right there, they can often sense that our mind elsewhere, off wrestling with the same old thing for the 1,000th time. It's like we're only half there.
Absolutely. Your relationships can suffer because you're not fully present. Even when you genuinely want to be. You're not just burning through your own mental fuel. You're also creating this subtle distance between you and, well, everything and everyone around you.
So this brings us to a really crucial, a choice point. In every single thought loop, you basically have two options. Keep feeding it energy or starve it. And that choice, it doesn't happen in some grand moment. It happens in these tiny little micro moments all day long. It's that split second when you catch yourself starting to replay that conversation again and you just pause instead of diving in. Or when you feel your mind reaching for that familiar worry like an old scratchy blanket and you decide consciously, nope, not picking that up right now.
And this leads to a really key insight. Breaking free isn't really about stopping the thoughts. You can't just command your brain not to think something. Good luck with that.
Right, impossible.
What you can control is your reaction to the thought. Whether you engage with it, get hooked by it, or just let it float by, it's about changing your relationship with your thoughts.
I like that analogy you used earlier. Thoughts like people knocking on your door. It's so true. Just because someone knocks doesn't mean you have to invite them in for tea and spend hours with them, does it? You can acknowledge the knock, maybe peek through the people, see who it is, and then decide, is this visitor worth my time right now? And honestly, most of these thought loops, they're just the same old visitor knocking out of habit. We let them in automatically, habitually. And the big shift happens when you realize, wait, I don't have to answer this door every time. Engaging is optional. Following that rabbit trail is optional. Okay, so if we get that, what's the first practical thing someone listening can do right now to start making that choice, not inviting every thought in? How do we actually start redirecting?
It often starts with a simple method. Redirect, don't resist. So when you notice the loop starting up, don't fight it. Don't try to force it away. Fighting it often just gives it more power, more energy, makes it stick around longer.
Like struggling in quicksand again.
Precisely. Instead, just gently redirect your attention. Shift your focus to something concrete, something present. Could be super simple. Like, okay, name 5 things you can see in the room right now. Or focus on the feeling of your breath for just, say, 30 seconds. Or get up and do one small physical thing, wash a cup, stretch, whatever.
Okay.
The goal isn't to banish the thought forever. It's just to prove to yourself in that moment, I don't have to follow this thought down the hole this time. It's about exercising that choice muscle.
That makes sense. Shifting from being dragged along to actively choosing where your attention goes. What else? Any other technique?
Another really useful one is to ask yourself this question. Is this thinking or is this spinning?
Thinking versus spinning. I like that.
Yeah. Thinking moves you forward, right? Purposeful, it's trying to get somewhere. Spinning, that's just mental motion without direction, round and round, stuck. So if you identify, okay, this is definitely spinning, you just give yourself permission to stop.
Just like that.
Just like that. Not because the issue doesn't matter, but because spinning about it isn't helping anyone. You can always decide to think about it productively later when you're feeling clearer. It's about intentional processing versus just reactive circling.
And here's one I've found helpful. It gives your brain some structure. Setting up worry windows.
Oh yeah, those can be great.
Instead of letting anxious thoughts just barge in whenever they feel like it all day long, you actually schedule a specific time to worry. Maybe, say, 15 minutes every evening at 7 p.m. That's your designated worry time.
Right. Containment.
Exact. So if a worry pops up at 2 p.m., you gently tell yourself, not now. This isn't the scheduled time. I'll think about this at 7. It's not about ignoring it forever. It's about managing when you engage with it. Shifting from that constant reactive worry to planned, intentional reflection time.
And, as we talk about all these techniques, redirecting, distinguishing thinking from spinning, using worry windows, they all point toward one really powerful fundamental escape route. There's a core truth about thought loops that once you grasp it, can really change everything. Thought loops can only exist in the past or the future. Think about it.
Okay.
You cannot be spiraling about something that is happening right now in this immediate moment. Why? Because you're too busy experiencing.
Whoa. Okay, wait. That clicks. So being present isn't just some nice fuzzy idea. It's actually like a functional off-ramp from the loop. I never really thought about it quite that practically before. That's why being here now is the way out of that prison.
That's exactly it. It's incredibly practical. When you are fully engaged with what's actually happening, the sensations, the sounds, the task at hand, Your mind literally doesn't have the spare capacity to get lost in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties. It's fully occupied with the present. And being present doesn't have to mean some formal meditation practice unless you want it to. It can be as simple as really tasting your coffee instead of just gulping it down while thinking about your to-do list, or truly listening to the person talking to you instead of just waiting for your turn to speak or planning your response.
Or just feeling your feet on the floor as you walk.
Yes, exactly. Just noticing physical sensation. The magic unlocks when you truly realize that this moment right here, right now, is the only place you have any real power. You can't change the past.
Yeah.
You can't magically control the future, but you can choose how you engage with this present moment.
And there's a beautiful irony in that, isn't there? The more you practice being present, the better you actually become at handling whatever the future does bring.
Absolutely.
Because you're coming from a place of clarity and groundedness, not from being totally frazzled and mentally exhausted by loop.
And this brings us to what ultimate freedom from these loops looks like. It's not about achieving a perfectly silent, empty mind. That's unrealistic for most of us.
Yeah, that sounds nice, but probably not happening.
Right. Freedom is about not being controlled by whatever pops into your head. It's the realization that thoughts are just mental events. They're not direct orders you have to follow. When that clicks, something profound shifts. You stop taking every single thought quite so seriously.
You don't have to believe everything you think.
Exactly. You stop assuming that just because a thought appeared, it must be true or important or demand immediate investigation. You start to observe your mind and notice, wow, it's actually pretty chaotic in here sometimes, kind of random. And you realize that's okay. That's normal. You don't have to make sense of every flicker of worry or turn every passing what if into a major drama. You become selective.
Choosing which thoughts get you.
Precisely. Which ones deserve your focus and which ones you can just acknowledge and let drift on by like clouds passing in the sky.
The sense of peace that comes with that shift, really incredible, isn't it? You go from feeling like a victim of your own mind, tossed around by every thought, to feeling like you actually have some agent, some choice in your own mental experience. That feeling that you are not your thoughts, you're the one who's aware of you.
So here's something concrete for everyone listening, maybe tonight, before you drift off to sleep. You know how the mind can get busy then. When that familiar worry starts up or you start replaying that conversation yet again, just notice it. Don't get mad at it. Don't fight it. Just acknowledge it almost neutrally. Like, oh, hello there. There's that thought loop again. And then gently, deliberately shift your attention. Bring it to something physical, something right now. The feeling of the pillow under your head, the temperature of the air on your skin, any sounds you can hear.
You're not aiming for instant silence. You're just practicing that skill, that muscle of not automatically grabbing onto every thought and following it down the rabbit hole. And if you do this consistently, even for short moments, something really cool starts to happen. Those thought loops, they begin to lose their grip. Their power over you weakens. They might still show up, but they become more like background noise, not the main event that hijacks.
And remember, fundamentally, breaking free from thought loops isn't about trying to become some completely different, perfectly zen person. It's more about remembering who you actually are. Underneath all that mental chatter, you existed before the wet started, right?
Right.
You are not defined by your anxious thoughts, past mistakes, or your future work. You're the awareness that simply experiences all that stuff. And when you start operating more from that place of awareness, instead of getting lost in the thought, you naturally become more present and you're more effective, more available for the good things life has. Your peace of mind isn't waiting for you at the end of some perfect thought-free state. It's available right now. The moment you stop making every single thought quite so important.